but I'll try to sum up briefly what I discussed in the last class. We started with the topic of hierarchy of courts, and in that topic we first discussed territorial division under CRPC. Now, why territorial division is relevant to know, because if you have a fair idea about territorial division, then you can easily understand how lower judiciary in India has been structured as far as criminal justice administration is concerned. Because it's not difficult to tell someone that the highest court of the land is Supreme Court, and in each state, or in some states, in some states we have a common high court, but in each state by and large we have a high court, and that is the highest court of that particular state, and the highest court of the land is Supreme Court of India. So that is not difficult to tell. But when it comes to decoding the structure of lower judiciary, subordinate courts, then it becomes important to know and understand how CRPC provides for territorial division for the purpose of criminal justice administration. So in territorial division, we discussed section 7 and section 8 of CRPC. Monu, I think I am audible to everyone. Yeah. Please try to rejoin. So it was a slightly technical topic. We started with section 7 and discussed that a state may be divided into will be divided into sessions division, or you may have one session division in the entire state. But in almost all states, we have states divided into various sessions division. Now, a session division could be a district, or it could be divided into various districts. So there also I told you that in North India, or northern part of India, the general pattern is that for each session division, we have a district. Like a session division is a district as well. Below that, you have divisions of the districts, which are known as subdivisions. And thereafter, we discussed that we do have a territorial division with the name of metropolitan area. We can designate an urban area, it is underlined, with a population of more than 1 million people. State government is empowered to declare an urban area in its state with a population of more than 1 million to be a metropolitan area. When new CRPC came into force in 1973, so at that point of time, we had presidency towns of Bombay, Calcutta, and Madras and Ahmedabad recognized as metropolitan areas. But after that, under new CRPC, we have created other metropolitan areas as well. So in metropolitan area also, either the entire metropolitan area would be a session division, or it may be divided into several sessions divisions. For example, Delhi is a metropolitan area, so Delhi is divided into several sessions divisions. Now, after that, you may have one session division is a district, or you may have session division. That session division is divided into different districts. So this was in brief about territorial division under CRPC that we discussed. Now the relevance of it is that once you know that state is being divided into sessions division, or a metropolitan area is being divided into sessions division for the purpose of criminal justice administration, it's easier to understand the essence of section 9 and other succeeding sections, which provides for different kinds of courts, who will establish those courts and who will appoint the judges in those courts. So for example, we discussed that in each session division, it is the responsibility of the state government to establish a court of session. So once that court has been established, then it is the duty of the High Court to appoint judges. High Court would appoint a session judge, and it may also appoint, and if you look at the actual situation, then in almost all sessions division, or in almost all court of sessions, High Court has appointed several judges as additional and assistant session judges to help the session judge in his day-to-day work. So next we discussed that there is a sessions court. Now there is also a magistrates court, which is known as magistry. I'll do that. I have nothing to show. When I have something to show relevant to show, then I'll show you that PPT or something. So now what we are doing, we are actually in a way summarizing the discussion that we had in the last class. So at the sessions level, we have a court of session, and as session is a district also, or it may be divided into districts. So at that level, we have a magistry. And under CRPC, we have two kinds of magistries. One is executive magistry and executive magistrates, and other is judicial magistry or judicial magistrates. I told you that it was for the first time in CRPC 1973 that we decided to have a complete separation in lower judiciary at the level of magistry. Before that, executive magistrate used to conduct the trial, but now executive magistrate cannot conduct the trial. So therefore, we have a separate branch of magistry with the name of judicial magistry. Now it is headed by a CJM, Chief Judicial Magistrate, in a state, which is not a metropolitan area, and Chief Judicial Magistrate is assisted by other magistrate first class, or additional Chief Judicial Magistrate, or magistrate second class. So this is the complete hierarchy at the subordinate level, at the level of sessions division. In metropolitan areas, the terminology is different, but by and large the situation is similar. In metropolitan areas also, as the metropolitan area is divided into different sessions division, you have a court of session in each session division, and you have magistry also, because each session division is either a district or divided into various districts. So at the district level, you have a magistry, but that magistry is headed by, in metropolitan areas, by Chief Metropolitan Magistrate. He may be assisted by Assistant Chief Metropolitan Magistrate, and at the lowest level, you have Metropolitan Magistrate. There is no division between magistrate first class and second class at the level of metropolitan area, when you are discussing this hierarchy, right from the metropolitan area to sessions division to the district in metropolitan area. Now coming to the application of this entire discussion. So please read all the relevant provisions that we discussed while discussing all these things through those PPTs that we used for the purpose of our discussion. Now coming to the application part of it. Now, as per our discussion, I'll ask you some questions and try to answer those questions. As per our discussion, एक district court में at the level of a district, on the judicial side of magistry, who will head the magistry? At the judicial side, who will head the magistry? नहीं, मैजिस्ट्री को कौन हेड करेगा यार? सीजेएम करेगा, ठीक है, चीफ जुडिशियल मैजिस्ट्रेट। अब आप इसको एक्चुअली बता सकते हो अपने डिस्ट्रिक्ट में, इसका मायना क्या हुआ कि अगर डिस्ट्रिक्ट में जुडिशियल मैजिस्ट्रेट को चीफ जुडिशियल मैजिस्ट्रेट हेड करेगा, तो एक डिस्ट्रिक्ट में कितने चीफ जुडिशियल मैजिस्ट्रेट होंगे? 1. Everybody would agree on this, ना? 1. Yes, have you tested this कि भैया एक ही चीफ जुडिशियल मैजिस्ट्रेट है क्या एक डिस्ट्रिक्ट में?
सर ज्यादा होते हैं, इलाहाबाद में ज्यादा।
अरे यार, अब नाउ वी विल टेस्ट इट। ऐसा थोड़ी है कि मैं आपको कुछ भी बता दूंगा and then that would become itself verified or certified. So I have to tell you by giving some real examples कि भैया ऐसा देखो, जो मैंने आपको बताया था कि सेशंस डिवीजन या तो एक डिस्ट्रिक्ट हो सकता है या एक से ज्यादा डिस्ट्रिक्ट हो सकते हैं, और मैंने ये भी बताया आपको कि भैया in each district there shall be a magistrate on the judicial side and there shall be a magistrate on the executive side. इसके मायने ये हुए that the magistrate on the judicial side shall be headed by a judge with the designation of chief judicial magistrate. Now he shall be assisted by ACJMs, additional chief judicial magistrate. If that area is a metropolitan area, then the magistry shall be headed by chief metropolitan magistrate, and he or she shall be assisted by additional CMMs. And then below that you will have the courts of metropolitan magistrate if metropolitan area, and if it is a state divided into sessions division and districts, then they will be assisted by other judges, magistrate, chief judicial magistrate first class and judicial magistrate second class. ठीक है? So this is a website. Are you able to see it?
Yes
हाँ
sir.
जी, कोई भी अपना डिस्ट्रिक्ट पिक कर लो. फॉर एग्जाम्पल जिस भी स्टेट से हो पहले कोई स्टेट पिक कर लो, एंड एनी वन ऑफ यू. इट्स नॉट दैट के फिर घर पे इसको देख लेना आप पूरी वेबसाइट को. कोई भी स्टेट पिक कर लो. पिक ए स्टेट.
उत्तर प्रदेश.
ठीक है. लेट्स पिक अप यूपी. इट्स माय स्टेट आल्सो, सो लेट्स पिक दिस अप. नाउ यू आर हैविंग अ मैप ऑफ उत्तर प्रदेश. नाउ जो जिसने उत्तर प्रदेश पिक किया है वो किस जिले का है?
बुलंदशहर.
बुलंदशहर ढूंढो भाई इसमें. ये रहा बुलंदशहर. ठीक है जी. अब यहाँ पे जाते हैं हम जुडिशियल ऑफिसर्स एट बुलंदशहर. इट विल टेक अस टू कोर्ट ऑफ इलाहाबाद हाई कोर्ट. इस लिस्ट में कितने सीजीएम होने चाहिए हमारे डिस्कशन के हिसाब से?
1 sir. 1.
अब देख लो इसमें कितने सीजीएम है. यहाँ पे देयर इज समवन विद द नेम ऑफ सुनील कुमार 2, जैसे पुराने टाइम के अटेंडेंस में नाम होते थे सुनील कुमार 1 और सुनील कुमार 2. सो तो यहाँ पे कितने मैजिस्ट्रेट है? चीफ जुडिशियल मैजिस्ट्रेट 1. ठीक है जी. एंड दिस चीफ जुडिशियल मैजिस्ट्रेट is helped by ACGMs. ACGM Anup Sher, ACGM this one, and now there will be judicial magistrates below that. Now in hierarchy which they put on websites, their website, they do not tell कि भैया ये judicial magistrate first class second class है, but normally जो senior first class judicial magistrate होते हैं उन सबको ACGM ही बना दिया जाता है after few years of service. And then at the lowest level you have judicial magistrate second class. So in the hierarchy that you would get in actual judges list of different district courts or different district and sessions court, आपको ये मिलेगा. ठीक है. अब आप this is a website which will give you information of all the district courts in India. For example, अगर कोई उत्तराखंड से किसी ने बोला था I am from उत्तराखंड, तो which is your district?
So Dehradun.
Now click Dehradun. Now अब इस लिस्ट में कितने सीजीएम होने चाहिए हमारे डिस्कशन के हिसाब से? एक. अब देख लो इसमें एक सीजीएम आपको मिल जाएगा कहीं पे. सीजीएम साहब का नाम मिल जाएगा आपको. मुझे तो दिख नहीं रहा है, आपको दिख रहा है क्या?
यस सर.
कहाँ दिख गया?
श्री लक्ष्मण सिंह.
ये हाँ बस ठीक है. तो इसका मतलब क्या हुआ? That what we discussed under CRPC, under provisions relating to judicial magistrates, तो उस डिस्कशन के मायने ये थे कि एक सेशन डिवीजन या तो एक डिस्ट्रिक्ट होगा या एक से ज्यादा डिस्ट्रिक्ट होगा, और वहां पे हमने ये भी पढ़ा था that all the judicial magistrates in a district shall be subordinate to a chief judicial magistrate. इसका consequence ये होता है that there shall be one judicial magistrate in each district, and he may be assisted by ACGMs appoint, and all these two offices are such that they will be appointed by high courts. Judges on these offices shall be appointed by high court. ठीक है जी. तो ये एक इसका मतलब if you do it like this, if you go to this website, the website का नाम is districts e-courts. I mean, Abhimanyu, please take a screenshot of it and share it in your class. जिसको देखना होगा वो देख लेगा. मैं मेन पेज पे चला जाता हूँ एक बार. This is a website of all the district courts in India, wherein you can get all possible relevant information about all the district courts in all the states throughout the country. It is very interactive. You just need to click on your state, then pick up your district, and you can get yourself acquainted with many things. For example, आपके जिले में कितने जज हैं, उनका डेजिग्नेशंस क्या क्या है, आपके जिले का सेशन जज कौन है, आपके जिले में सीजीएम कौन है, बिकॉज दीज आर द टू मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट ऑफिसेज एज फार एज जजेस आर कंसर्न इन सबऑर्डिनेट जुडिशरी, बिकॉज सीजीएम इज हेडिंग द मजिस्ट्री एंड सेशंस जज इज हेडिंग द सेशंस डिवीजन. सो दैट इज व्हाई दीज आर द टू मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट ऑफिसेज. इसके अलावा इसमें बाकी इंफॉर्मेशन भी आपको मिल सकती है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अलग अलग मैजिस्ट्रेट की किस किस पुलिस थाने के ऊपर जुरिस्डिक्शन है, that we will discuss later on कि jurisdiction कैसे decide करते हैं कि आप जो for example if X has committed a crime and Y has lodged an FIR against X, तो जो पुलिस ऑफिसर इन चार्ज ऑफ पुलिस स्टेशन है वो किसको रिपोर्ट भेजेगा अबाउट द रजिस्ट्रेशन ऑफ FIR, मैजिस्ट्रेट को भेजेगा. तो कौन सा मैजिस्ट्रेट होगा, दैट वुड बी डिसाइडेड. एक रोस्टर निकलेगा, उसमें लिखा रहेगा कि भैया जो ये ACGM साहब X1 है, इनके अंडर में थाना नंबर ABCD ये पुलिस स्टेशन आते हैं. तो उसमें जो अपराध दर्ज होगा उसकी जो सारी इंफॉर्मेशन है एज पर द प्रोविजंस ऑफ CRPC, the police officer in charge of the police station shall communicate to that particular magistrate. कॉग्निजेंस के लिए भी चार्जशीट वहीं पे फाइल करेगा एंड देन ट्रायल शैल अकॉर्डिंगली टेक प्लेस एज पर द प्रोविजंस ऑफ CRPC. सो इट्स अ वेरी इंटरैक्टिव मैप. इसको देख के आपको ऐसा नहीं लगेगा एज इफ Indian criminal justice system is at the verge of collapsing. It may be a kind of a analysis at the level of functioning of the courts, but if you look at this website, it will transport you to a judicial system which seems to be a judicial system having a good pace with the ICT and different methods of technology which can be used to improve the जुडिशरी इन पर्टिकुलर स्टेट. अब ये जो डिस्ट्रिक्ट कोर्ट इलाहाबाद है, इसमें कितने सेशन जज होंगे, बिकॉज इट्स अ सेशन डिवीजन आल्सो. दिस डिस्ट्रिक्ट इज अ सेशन डिवीजन आल्सो. मैंने बोला था आपको कि भैया उसमें हायरार्की ऊपर से नीचे आती है. इसका मतलब ये है कि ईच सेशन डिवीजन ईदर कैन बी अ डिस्ट्रिक्ट और डिवाइडेड इनटू डिस्ट्रिक्ट. सो जनरली क्या होता है कि सेशन डिवीजन एक डिस्ट्रिक्ट ही होता है. ठीक है जी. तो यहाँ पे वी डिस्कस दैट देयर शैल बी अ सेशंस कोर्ट ऑफ सेशन इन एवरी डिस्ट्रिक्ट and it shall be presided over by a sessions judge. इसका मतलब क्या हुआ, that there shall be one session judge. तो आप कोई भी डिस्ट्रिक्ट का वो खोल के देख लो, चाहे इसका देख लो चाहे किसी और का, there shall be one session judge and he shall be assisted by additional session judges, additional session judge, additional session judge, additional. So this is even in this one also you can see additional. So all these are appointed as per the provisions of Section 9 on 10 of CRPC. आप वहां से पढ़ोगे, बिल्कुल ऐसी एग्जीक्यूशन इसका ऑन द ग्राउंड हो रहा है. बिल्कुल आप जाओगे किसी भी कोर्ट में, उसकी लिस्ट देखोगे तो आपको उसी तरीके से डिटेल में ये चीजें मिलेंगी. ठीक है जी. सो यू कैन इंटरैक्ट विद दिस मैप ऑफ इंडिया टू नो मोर अबाउट द डिस्ट्रिक्ट कोर्ट्स, योर डिस्ट्रिक्ट कोर्ट और डिफरेंट डिस्ट्रिक्ट कोर्ट्स इन इंडिया. कहीं कहीं पे अपडेटेड इंफॉर्मेशन है बहुत ज्यादा, कहीं कहीं पे बिल्कुल भी अपडेटेड इंफॉर्मेशन नहीं है, हैब्जेड इंफॉर्मेशन है बिल्कुल. किसी ने अपना डिस्ट्रिक्ट कोर्ट की हिस्ट्री भी बताई है बड़े अच्छे तरीके से. सो ऑल दोज आर एडिशनल पर्क्स टू हैव अ काइंड ऑफ इंटरेक्शन विद दिस पर्टिकुलर मैप. सो आई विल स्टॉप हियर. इफ यू हैव एनी doubt about the discussion that we had in the last class and that we had right now, you can ask about it. Before that, just a second. Executive magistrate shall be added by the district magistrate, DM जिसको बोलते हैं. ठीक है जी. Executive magistrate shall be added by the DM. In each district there shall be a DM. तो वो सेक्शन 20 में लिखा हुआ है CRPC में साफ. एंड सेक्शन 21-22 में ये भी लिखा हुआ है दैट ऑल द एग्जीक्यूटिव मैजिस्ट्रेट्स शैल बी सबऑर्डिनेट टू द डीएम. और ये भी लिखा हुआ है दैट दिस डीएम शैल बी असिस्टेड बाय एडीएम्स. तो अगर उसकी लिस्ट आपको चाहिए हो, देन यू हैव टू गो टू द काइंड ऑफ टाइप द नेम ऑफ द डिस्ट्रिक्ट एंड ऑफिशियल वेबसाइट ऑफ अ पर्टिकुलर डिस्ट्रिक्ट. तो उसका लिस्ट आपको वहां पे मिलेगा. ऐसा इंटरेक्टिव मैप नहीं है उसका. ठीक है जी.
सर
हाँ जी बोलिए.
So actually, like in my state, before actually we have 10 districts actually. So they divided into 34 districts. So in that case, like what happens, like after almost 3 years happens in Telangana. I am belongs to Telangana state. So in that case, like, is there any in charge of 2-3 districts or anything like that?
It depends. Let's open the map. What is the situation out there? So this is your map. So
Yes.
it is not showing the updated information as per, because it is showing the 10 districts. So 34 were created. When they were created?
In 2016, sir.
So then it has not been updated in that regard. So in that particular case, for example, if we go to Adilabad and इसमें वही प्रॉब्लम आ जाती है, फिर पूरी लिस्ट नहीं है इसमें अभी, ठीक है। सो उसके बारे में what I would say is that if you read CRPC says for the purpose of criminal justice administration you have to divide the state into sessions division, and then it further says that each session division, इसको ध्यान से सुनना, I am repeating it again and again because it's very important, each session division may either be a district or may be divided into districts. So it is possible that if new districts have been created, then for the time being, they are being put under 2, 3, 4 districts are clubbed together and put under one sessions division. In that situation, if suppose 3 districts are put under one sessions division, the court of session ka structure would remain same. It shall be added by the session judge and supported by additional and assistant session judge. Here there will be a change only in the structure of magistrate, judicial magistrate. So suppose if under one session division we have 3 districts, then in each districts we have to appoint a chief judicial magistrate. District का chief judicial magistrate हर का अलग होगा. तो अगर आपके यहाँ पे 34 district है, then you will have 34 chief judicial magistrate to head the judicial magistrate in those 34 districts. The only moot question is that whether all those districts are such which are having their own session divisions or they are sharing their session division with some other districts. ठीक है कार्तिक?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Anyone else? Now sometimes this website gives you a big shock. कि जैसे कि हमने कोशिश करी कि ये देख ले आदिलाबाद का, देन पता चला कि भाई यहाँ पे तो बस किसी का फोटो लगा हुआ है, एंड देन देयर आर नो लिंक्स, फर्दर लिंक्स कि हाउ मेनी जजेस आर देयर एंड व्हिच डेजिग्नेशंस दे आर होल्डिंग, बट इट्स ए ओल्ड मैप ऑफ 10 districts. Anyone else who wants to ask anything? Now I'll ask you a question. I do not know whether you will be able to grapple with it or not. I'll ask you a question. Please read this, section 6. According to section 6 of the code, besides the high courts and the courts constituted under any law other than this code, there shall be in every state the following classes of criminal courts. Court of Session, which is headed by a session judge and supported by additional session judges and assistant session judges. Judicial magistrate of the first class in any metropolitan area, metropolitan magistrate, and judicial magistrate of the second class. So here you will not find CJM convention, but when you read this section with CJM wala section, then you can say there is a CJM also. Why there is no CJM wala provision here? Because a CJM is a judge who is already a judicial magistrate first class. If you read that provision, it says that any judicial magistrate of first class can be appointed as CJM. And then you have the court of executive magistrate. So I am highlighting it for a while. ये पढ़ लिया ना सबने एक बार? Because I'll go to a different page and then read, make you read another provision. Now there is section 26 also, which provides that subject to provisions of this code, any offense under IPC may be tried by a high court, a court of session, and any other court by which such offense is shown in the first schedule to be triable. So if you see the first schedule, then it shows that there are certain offenses, the punishment for which is up to 7 years. They can be tried by either magistrate first class or second class, or any magistrate, that is including a CJM or magistrate first class or second class. My question to you is that according to section 6, executive magistrate is a criminal court, but it cannot try any offense as per the provisions of section 26 of CRPC. According to section 6, executive magistrates, DM and ADMs and SDMs, they are recognized as criminal courts, but they are not empowered to conduct a trial of the offenses under IPC. So if I ask you a question that then what they can do as a criminal court, because they have been recognized as a criminal court, they cannot conduct the trial, and what other things are there under CRPC which they can do? If you have, you can write it somewhere, this question somewhere, because it's a slightly tricky issue. Because the basic notion is that in 1973 ka CRPC, there is a very strict division between judicial magistrate and executive magistrate. So that strict division ka statement is correct to the extent that executive magistrate or executive magistrates in a district cannot conduct a trial as per section 26, because only the courts that are provided under section 26 can conduct the trial. Executive magistrates cannot conduct the trial. It is judicial magistrate at the magistrate level which can conduct a trial, and it can also be affirmed by reading schedule 1. If you look at the different offenses and who can try those offenses, then you would find that executive magistrate cannot conduct a trial. But still, under section 6, executive magistrates are recognized as a court. What does this mean? Do you have anything to say about it? Executive magistrates are recognized as criminal courts, but they cannot conduct the trial. Then what are the things, or what may be the things that they can deal with as a criminal court? Anyone having any idea? Because I am going to keep this question open. It is not something कि भाई मैं पढ़ा रहा हूं तो मैं आपको सारी चीजों के जवाब बताऊंगा. No, it's impossible.
So can I try to answer?
हाँ जी.
Can I try to answer with a recent example? So like in the newspaper recently, I had read about the Uttar Pradesh prohibition of unlawful conversion of religion ordinance. There they had given power to the DM to like summon people and then take permission to marry and all that. So I think special powers can be granted.
Fine. Can you give some instances from CRPC? You haven't read it, I am not expecting, but from something which you have read. An example which is similar to the example that you have given of conversion wala ordinance, wherein DM has been given very, very wide powers. So I hope you are able to understand my question. It's slightly at a deeper level, but you need to grapple with it. प्रॉब्लम लॉ स्कूल की सिलेबस में मेनली आती है. चलो ये नहीं बताऊंगा मैं अभी, क्योंकि दिस क्लास इज बीइंग रिकॉर्डेड, सो आई हैव टू बी विद इन माय लिमिट्स. आई वोंट टेल यू द प्रॉब्लम इन लॉ स्कूल वाला सिलेबस, बट आई एम टेम्प्टेड. प्रॉब्लम ये आती है भाई कि ऐसा लगता है कि सीआरपीसी इज टॉकिंग अबाउट ओनली पुलिस एंड जुडिशियल मैजिस्ट्रेट, बट दैट इज नॉट ट्रू. 1/3 of CRPC is about powers of district magistrate, ADMs and other magistrate, or rather most of the things that you hear and read about prevention of crimes and maintenance of law and order, they are relating to the powers that are being exercised by executive magistrate. not by the judicial magistrate. So basically CRPC is a sanctuary for executive magistrate. Executive magistrate roam around the confines of CRPC as if it is a national park or wildlife sanctuary. On the other hand, judicial magistrate does not have that kind of luxury, or court of session does not have that kind of luxury. They are working under the provisions of CRPC as if they are in a zoo. There is a place in every district and sessions court, and they are sitting there, and they can exercise their power in certain instances. But as far as your day-to-day life is concerned, day-to-day life of common public, general people at large is concerned, it's the executive magistrates that who have the power under the provisions of CRPC, and CRPC is like a national park or a wildlife sanctuary, and executive magistrates are like, I won't compare them with some lions or tigers, but actually they are like this. I mean, if I do not compare with magistrates with the lions roaming in a sanctuary or tigers roaming in a sanctuary, then it would be kind of not a justiciable statement on my part, because then who the hell would appear in civil services exam if somebody is not making you a tiger or a lion after giving an exam? Then why would people would be crazy about appearing in just an exam? It's just an exam, not a charter of freedom of the people, or the charter of prosperity for 40 crore people of this country who are living below poverty line. It's just about making you someone who has very wide powers under CRPC. So that is why I asked this question. So please, anybody who have anything to say about it, that executive magistrate is a court? One example which one of you has given, that under that particular conversion wala ordinance, which is, I think, has been made as an enactment act now. It's no more an ordinance, I think. Very wide powers has been given to the district magistrate to summon somebody, to issue someone to somebody, and to conduct other kind of inquiries into a particular matter wherein an interfaith marriage has taken place, or alleged interfaith marriage has taken place. इसके बारे में किसी को कुछ कहना हो तो बताओ भाई, then you can write it somewhere, that how will you resolve this issue of executive magistrate being recognized as a criminal court, but they are not being given the power to try offenses. So what are the powers that executive magistrates enjoys under CRPC as a court, as a criminal court? And by and large, when you read CRPC, the powers which executive magistrate enjoys, they are of such nature that generally they are not enjoyed by judicial magistrates. So I'll stop here on this particular topic. We will not extend it further. But when you look at CRPC, then keep this fact in your mind, that 1/3 of it is actually dealing with the powers of executive magistrate. I'm saying 1/3 because the actual provisions may be 1/4 the number of provisions, or maybe less than that. But the provisions are of such nature which are giving very wide and plenary powers to the executive magistrate to interfere and to regulate everybody's day-to-day life. तो अगर धारा 144 के अंतर्गत कोई आदेश अगर डीएम ने पारित कर दिया है, तो 5 व्यक्तियों से ज्यादा आप नहीं खड़े हो सकते हो कहीं पे. आपकी जो डे टू डे लाइफ है वो डिस्टर्ब हो गई है. आर यू गेटिंग इट? अगर पब्लिक न्यूसेंस कहीं पे है एंड मैजिस्ट्रेट इज ऑफ दिस ओपिनियन कि इस पब्लिक न्यूसेंस को डील करने के लिए आई नीड टू टेक XYZ steps, then CRPC gives him ample powers. अगर मैजिस्ट्रेट को लग रहा है कि ये जो व्यक्ति है जिसने अपने आप को XYZ तरीके से कंडक्ट किया है, he could be pose a serious threat to the law and order situation of my district, तो वो 107, 8, 9, 16 एक्सरसाइज के अंडर पावर एक्सरसाइज करते हुए he or she can ask him कि बॉन्ड भर दो आके सिक्योरिटी का, और अगर आपने कुछ गड़बड़ किया तो ये फॉरफिट हो जाएगा बॉन्ड. प्रिवेंटिव पावर्स. ठीक है. So generally that part of CRPC is ignored. ऐसा लगता है it's more about police and judicial magistrates. Ask a DM कि भाई आपको मैक्सिमम पावर कहाँ से मिलती है. He would smile and tell you कि भाई CRPC is our God. अगर CRPC ना हो तो we are like regular officers of the government signing on certain papers and files. And we cannot have any deep impact on the day-to-day life or effect on day-to-day life of common people in our district. It's all because of CRPC and the laws that have been framed, criminal laws that have been framed to take care of different kinds of activities, criminal activities. Yeah. Did I tell you about commissionerate system a little bit? That under section 20 subsection 5 of CRPC, all these maintenance of law and order ka power will go to commissioner of police if state government has decided to create a commissionerate system in any district. So do read a little bit about that area as well. Now coming to, and here I will not take much time. That is for you to read and to understand throughout your life के scheme क्या है CRPC की. It's a very difficult topic to take up firstly on my part, but still I'll try to tell you कि थोड़ा सा इसको मतलब how you can understand this code. So if you have your code with you, then you can mark some things on that particular code. So CRPC is divided into 37 chapters, and there are sections which numbers which starts from section 1 and ends at section 484. It has 2 schedules also. Under schedule number 1, which is divided into 2 parts, offenses are classified into cognizable, non-cognizable, bailable, non-bailable, and it also provides for which judge is empowered to conduct a trial of which offense. So that is why schedule 1 becomes most important part of CRPC, even when it is not within the framework of the sections. You cannot survive inside CRPC if you do not read schedule 1, because till the time you do not know whether offense is cognizable or non-cognizable, bailable or non-bailable, तब तक आप decide नहीं कर पाओगे how you are going to help your client in a criminal case. And there is a lot of discussion on what is a cognizable offense and what is a non-cognizable offense, bailable, non-bailable. I generally tend to say कि उस बात में मत जाओ, only understand कि क्या क्या उसके consequence हो सकते हैं, कौन सा offense cognizable है, कौन सा नहीं cognizable है, ये तो आपको schedule पढ़ के पता ही चल जाएगा. You just open the schedule, देखो कि offense कौन सा है. For example, whether 302 is cognizable or non-cognizable, it's written there. So you don't have to apply that much of mind and engage into a kind of a heavy discussion to understand which offense is cognizable, which is non-cognizable. It's written there. Under schedule 7, you have certain forms. For example, summon का format क्या होता है, warrant का format क्या होता है, bail application का format क्या होता है. So there are different formats that are provided under schedule 2 of CRPC. So when you are reading CRPC, then you have to divide CRPC mainly into 3 parts. And before starting any discussion on those 3 parts, you have to engage in a preliminary reading of CRPC, as we are doing nowadays. So what we have done, we have discussed constitution of criminal courts and different functionaries of criminal justice administration, like prosecution, office of executive magistrate, office of judicial magistrates, office of session judges and additional session judges, hierarchy of courts, which court is subordinate to which court, in order to understand that these are the codes that are going to execute the provisions of CRPC that I am going to study later on in the code. तो सबसे पहले कोड ने बताया आपको कोड्स के बारे में. So there is a particular way in which a particular statute or code is written or drafted. So CRPC opens up with a discussion on the hierarchy of criminal codes and different kinds of criminal codes. Then it provides for powers of these codes, which I discussed in the last class. ये जो सेशन जज है या जो एडिशनल सेशन जज है, they have the power to pronounce a sentence of any duration, including death punishment and any amount of fine. Assistant session judge can pronounce a sentence which is up to 10 years of imprisonment. CGM can pronounce a sentence which is up to 7 years. And then we go down further to discuss the powers as far as pronouncing a sentence of imprisonment and fine is concerned of judicial magistrate first class and second class. This also should be known to a person who is reading CRPC. And thereafter you have chapter 4, which is generally not taught. It's very simply written chapter, so you can have a basic reading of that particular chapter. In that chapter there is a very important section 36, which provides for powers of superior officers of police. It simply says कि जो powers ऑफिसर इंचार्ज ऑफ पुलिस स्टेशन के पास है, जो पावर थानेदार के पास है, वो सारी की सारी पावर उससे जो सुपीरियर ऑफिसर्स होंगे, लाइक सर्किल ऑफिसर, डिप्टी एसपी और एसएसपी और एसपी, उन सब के पास भी वो सिमिलर पावर होंगे. तो सीआरपीसी इज मेकिंग इट क्लियर कि जहां जहां पे भी हमने बोला है दैट ऑफिसर इंचार्ज ऑफ पुलिस पुलिस स्टेशन हैज पावर टू डू एक्स थिंग, it means you have to read it with section 36 of CRPC. जो उसके superior officers होंगे, they can also exercise similar powers. So before starting CRPC, one is required to read chapter 2, chapter 3 and chapter 4. Chapter 2, 3 and 4 should be studied before starting any discussion on CRPC. Once you have studied these chapters, you can mark it on your Bear Act if you have it with you. You have it with you. अगर आप बस ऐसे ही सुनोगे, जैसे कोई FM वगैरह सुन रहे हो या कोई और टाइप का डिस्कशन सुन रहे हो, then it will just go out of the window within 50 minutes of the class or just within few hours of the class. तो फिर कोई मतलब नहीं रह जाएगा इसका. So you can mark in CRPC that chapter 2, 3 and 4 are such which one should study before discussing any other provision of CRPC, because these are actually the formal construction of your studies into CRPC. So you are actually preparing yourself to study CRPC. That is why these chapters should be studied at the outset as preliminary chapters. So these are the preliminary chapters, chapter 2, 3 and 4 of CRPC, which goes from section 3 to 40. 3 to 40 you can cover within these chapters, but 3, 4, 5 are in chapter number 1, so you can leave that for a while. You have to study chapter 2, 3 and 4 in order to understand which are the functionaries under criminal justice administration and what are their general powers. Now after that you have to divide CRPC into 3 parts. First part would be those provisions of the code which are related to pre-trial proceedings. So please listen to this very carefully. Once you are done with your study of preliminary provisions of CRPC provided under chapter 2, 3 and 4, some people include definition as well, but I do not include definition in it. Definition should be studied as per the topic. So अगर आप FIR का टॉपिक पढ़ रहे हो, then you should study the definition of cognizable, non-cognizable. अगर आप बेल का टॉपिक पढ़ रहे हो, you should study the definition of bailable and non-bailable offenses. अगर आप ट्रायल पढ़ रहे हो, you should study the definition of summon cases and warrant cases. अगर आप इन्वेस्टिगेशन पढ़ रहे हो, then study the definition of investigation. Along with that, you can also study the definition of inquiry. अगर आप विक्टिम कॉम्पनसेशन के बारे में पढ़ रहे हो, then you can study the definition of victims. अगर आप complaint पढ़ रहे हो, then you can study about the definition of complaint. So definition clause should be studied with the topics under which they are going to be relevant or they are going to be foundational. You don't have to study the definition clause at the outset. As per me, some person may suggest a different method of studying CRPC. Now, once you are done with this preliminary reading, you have to divide CRPC into 3 parts. And you have to tell yourself that after chapter 4, I am going to study in majority of the chapters about either of these 3 things. Number one, which you are dividing, because you are dividing into 3 parts. So the 3 main segments of CRPC are provisions relating to pre-trial proceeding. First main segment, in which I will tell you in brief which chapters would fall and what are going to be the basic headings of those chapters, to give you a brief idea. We are not studying the entire CRPC. We are trying to decode its structure. So the first important segment of CRPC, it has 3 segments, and first important segment is those provisions or chapters of CRPC which are relating to pre-trial proceedings. This is the first segment. The second segment of CRPC is those provisions which are applicable to trial of offenses. This is the second segment of CRPC. Third segment of CRPC is provisions relating to post-trial proceedings. Once you have understood these 3 segments, that this comprehensive code, which starts from section 1 and ends at 484, divided into 37 chapters, is actually covering 3 areas of criminal justice administration. Number 1, it contains provisions relating to pre-trial proceedings. Number 2, it contains provisions which are applicable during the trial. And number 3, it contains provisions relating to post-trial proceedings. Now the discussion does not stop here. Like, you cannot say that CRPC does not provide anything except the provisions relating to these 3 segments. It does provide provisions other than these 3 segments, but I would prefer to call them peripheral parts of CRPC. Basically, they do not come into picture once an offense has been committed and criminal justice administration ka machinery is invoked by someone. Rather, they would come into picture to prevent offenses or to maintain law and order. So those segments of CRPC which are other than these 3 segments, or those provisions of CRPC which do not fall under these 3 segments, they are basically of peripheral nature. वो तब पिक्चर में नहीं आते जब क्राइम कमिट हो जाता है, वो तब पिक्चर में रहते हैं मेनली जब क्राइम कमिट होने से पहले की बात है. Largely that is the situation. And in those peripheral provisions, the most important provisions deals with the power of executive magistrates. And there are other miscellaneous provisions as well. So are you clear with this much of discussion, that majority of the chapters under CRPC may be studied by dividing into 3 segments? So there are 3 main segments of CRPC. You should not say that there are only 3 segments. There are 3 main segments of CRPC. So before venturing into your study of these 3 segments, you must read 2, 3, 4 chapter, and then you can venture or dive into studying these 3 segments or provisions that fall under these 3 segments of CRPC: provisions relating to pre-trial proceedings, provisions relating to trial proceedings, and provisions relating to post-trial proceedings. Post-trial proceeding. So I'll stop here for a while. Is this much clear to you? कि भैया ये CRPC इतना जो comprehensive legislation है, it mainly talks about these three things.
Yes, sir.
ठीक है जी. एक आइडिया तो होना चाहिए ना. When you are diving into a legislation, you should have an idea कि भैया ये मिलने वाला है मुझे इसमें. Because if you do not have this idea, then you will be lost somewhere in that ocean. It's actually a very comprehensive legislation. It's not like a contract ka legislation. It's not like a arbitration ka legislation. Not like a family law ka legislation, which you can just read in 2 days and then give an exam relating to that, and also have a sufficient amount of knowledge to discuss in something or some serious issues under it. It's a different kind of legislation. First, its nature is different, and second is its expanse is very wide. So you have to fix this somewhere in your mind, that mainly this code is dealing with three kinds of provisions. Provisions which are applicable to pre-trial proceeding, provisions which are applicable to trial proceedings, provisions which are applicable to post-trial proceedings. Post-trial proceedings. Okay? Now, second important point on these three segments. First is that there are three main segments, and then you can name them. There are three main segments of CRPC, namely number 1, number 2, number 3, and this would cover almost 70% of the CRPC. And rest is, I call them peripheral, you call them something else. So the nucleus of CRPC is contained in these three segments, and the periphery of the CRPC is contained under some other chapters that I'll tell you about briefly, mainly power of executive magistrate and some other provisions of miscellaneous nature relating to sentencing and all. So now, second important point about segment. Pre-trial proceedings may be divided into two: pre-trial proceeding by the police and pre-trial proceeding by the courts, by the criminal courts, either magistrates court or sessions court. But you just remember by the courts, because you are drawing up a rough sketch of CRPC. The first segment, which is pre-trial proceedings or provisions relating to pre-trial proceedings, may be divided into two parts. First is pre-trial proceedings by the police and pre-trial proceedings by the criminal court. अब आपके हिसाब से पुलिस क्या क्या करती है? सिंपल सी चीज जो सबको पता है, मतलब इट्स नॉट कॉम्प्लिकेटेड थिंग, इट्स नॉट अ रॉकेट साइंस, इट्स वेरी सिंपल. पुलिस का काम होता है एफआईआर दर्ज करना, एफआईआर दर्ज करने के बाद इन्वेस्टिगेशन कंडक्ट करना, इन्वेस्टिगेशन के दौरान पुलिस का काम होता है एक्यूज को अरेस्ट करना, सस्पेक्टेड पर्सन एक्यूज को अरेस्ट करना, सर्च किसी प्रीमाइसिस को करना ड्यूरिंग द इन्वेस्टिगेशन which they think a reason to believe contains some evidences relating to commission of crime, और वहां से किसी प्रॉपर्टी को जो उनको मिलती है उसको सीज करना. ये बाय एंड लार्ज पुलिस के काम है. Once a case has been registered, once criminal justice system has been kicked into motion, ये mainly काम है पुलिस के. So that is why pre-trial proceedings by the police and the provisions relating to these kinds of proceedings are contained under chapter 5, 6, 7 and 12. Chapter 5, 6, 7. Do not jump to sections. Just try to focus on the chapters, and then you can dive down into sections. You have sufficient time this semester and later on your entire life. If you happen to read this code again and again as a judge or as a litigator, as a teacher, then you have sufficient time to engage with all possible provisions of CRPC. So as far as this first segment is concerned, which we have divided into pre-trial proceedings by the police and by the court, पुलिस का जो प्री ट्रायल प्रोसीडिंग रिलेटिंग प्रोविजन है, दे आर कंटेन्ड अंडर चैप्टर 5, 6, 7 and 12. 12 you will never forget if you have studied CRPC in one semester only, because it contains provisions relating to registration of FIR and then investigation. So chapter 12 becomes very relevant in that regard, and some people prefer to call it gateway to CRPC. Gateway to CRPC is 154, chapter 12. Registration of FIR or provisions relating to registration of FIR is gateway to CRPC. कि अगर CRPC में आपने एंट्री करनी है after reading preliminary provisions, then you will enter through section 154. तो इस वजह से you will not forget section chapter 12. And chapter 5, 6, 7 are in series. One provide for arrest, other provide for arrest warrants and summons and attachment of property, कुड़की वगैरह से related provision है. And chapter 7 provides for search and seizure. तो हर किसी को पता है कि पुलिस पावर includes power to search a place, power to seize a property in that particular place, and power to arrest. तो वो simple है बिल्कुल. Or to execute a arrest warrant and to execute attachment of property का order if the offender has been declared absconder by competent court under relevant provision of CRPC. So it's easy to decode. It's easy to decode. I don't think you have to struggle once again to actually find out in CRPC कि police pre-trial, which are the relevant provisions which are applicable to pre-trial proceedings by the police. I don't think you have to once again scratch the provisions. जिसके बारे में मतलब आपको पता ना चले या बड़ा मुश्किल हो कि out of 37 chapters, which are those chapters which are relevant to understand this pre-trial proceeding by the police. You will get to know about it. You will get to know about it. Easily get to know about it. It's so simple. Even with the title of the chapter, you can decode it. Okay? Then second is pre-trial proceeding by the courts. Now, under it, you will have 2-3 main provisions. One, registration of provisions relating to filing of complaint, criminal complaint before the magistrate. Chapter 15. Before that, you have provision relating to cognizance. Cognizance shall always be taken by the court, by the magistrate. So, magistrate is a criminal court. So, by the judicial magistrate, not executive magistrate. Whenever I say magistrate, throughout my lectures, understand it as judicial magistrate. If I want to tell you something about executive magistrate, I will name it. I will say the complete expression, executive magistrate. If I am saying just magistrate, it means judicial magistrate. So, which are the provisions that are applicable to pre-trial proceeding by the courts? These are provisions relating to filing of criminal complaint, provisions relating to taking of cognizance by the magistrate, provisions relating to issue of process. Issue of process means issue of summons and warrants by the court, and provisions relating to charge and framing of charge, and provisions relating to bail and bond. In this, as far as this bail and bond ka provision is concerned, this would be in picture at all the 3 stages. Pre-trial में भी इसका इस्तेमाल कर सकते हो आप चैप्टर का और इसके provisions का. During trial भी you can file an application for bail, and once you have been convicted by the lower court, trial has concluded, आपने appeal file करनी है तो appellate court में भी you can file a bail application. So that is something which you should remember. I have written it in the pre-trial proceeding, and because I have qualified it with a note that provisions relating to bail and bond are applicable before the trial, during the trial, and after the trial. So these are mainly the provisions for pre-trial proceedings by the criminal courts. So the relevant chapters under are, they will revolve around chapter 14, 15, 16 and 17. Chapter 14, 15, 16 and 17. Chapter 14, 15, 16 and 17. And bail ka chapter is 33. You will never forget 33 and 12, because bail and FIR and resultant investigation are the most widely used provisions under CRPC. Chapter 12 के जो provision है और chapter 33 के, they are the most widely used provisions. So you will never forget about these chapters, chapter 12 and chapter 33 of CRPC. Now coming to provisions relating to trial. provisions relating to trial. In order to understand this, you have to know that chapter 13 is the first and foremost chapter which becomes relevant, because it talks about jurisdiction of criminal courts to inquire into a particular offense or to conduct a trial. So inquiry wale jo aspect hai, that would be covered under pre-trial wale mein, but I have put it under the trial wala segment because it is more appropriate to study it before starting with the provisions relating to trial. So chapter 12 or 14 ke beech mein, 14 is a dealing with cognizance. There is a chapter 13 which talks about jurisdiction of criminal courts. How jurisdiction of criminal courts shall be decided, so that you can know which court is competent to conduct trial of which offense. So once you are done with chapter 13, then you are required to move to different kinds of trial. Now under CRPC, criminal trial, as we know, may be conducted by different courts. Trial may be conducted by a court of session. Trial may be conducted by a court of assistant and additional session judge, may be conducted by court of chief judicial magistrate, may be conducted by judicial magistrate first class and second class. We know this. So as trial may be conducted by different courts, so similarly you would find that there are different kinds of trials and provisions relating to those trials under CRPC. So in total, there are 5 kinds of trials. Rather, I call them 4 kinds of trials, but you can study them as 5 kinds of trial. 1, trial before a court of sessions, which is known as sessions trial. Then second, warrant trial. Warrant trial are of 2 types. That is why I say that I call them 4, but they may be termed as 5 kinds of trial. 1 is sessions trial. Number 2 is warrant trial. Number 3 is summons trial. And number 4 is summary trial. Warrant, sessions, warrant, summon, and summary. These are the 4 kinds of trials that can be conducted under the provisions of CRPC by the competent judicial magistrate or a session judge, by the competent judicial magistrate and the judge. अब इनके चैप्टर याद करने में इसलिए दिक्कत नहीं होती है, because sessions trial and the provisions applicable to sessions trial are provided under chapter, how will you say this? This is 18. Chapter 18. Then warrant trial के provisions, because it is of 2 kinds. Warrant trial on police report, charge sheet जहाँ पे file हुई हो. Warrant trial on complaint, जहाँ पे complaint file हुई हो और तब जाके trial के लिए गया हो case. तो chapter 18, 19, summons trial chapter 20, summary trial chapter 21. Now, in addition to that, because you are conducting the trial, so therefore at this stage, Evidence Act along with the modes of taking evidence would also come into picture. That is why chapter 23 becomes relevant, because Evidence Act is coming into picture during the trial, because trial shall be conducted only on the basis of the evidence produced by the prosecution and the defense. And there are some general provisions relating to trials and judgment, provisions relating to judgment. Once the trial has been concluded, then court shall pronounce the judgment. So the chapter 23, chapter 24 and chapter 27 becomes relevant as the supporting provisions for conducting a trial. क्योंकि जब ट्रायल होगा तो जजमेंट भी देना होगा आपको, तो दैट इज प्रोविजंस रिलेटिंग टू दैट आर कवर्ड अंडर चैप्टर 27. अगर ट्रायल होगा तो आपको एविडेंसेस कैसे लेने हैं, व्हाट आर द मोड्स ऑफ टेकिंग एविडेंसेस, क्या आप कमीशन इशू कर सकते हो, एग्जामिनेशन ऑफ विटनेसेस कैसे करना है, कौन सी भाषा का इस्तेमाल करना है, कितने तरीके के मेथड और मोड्स होते हैं फॉर टेकिंग एविडेंसेस, all these provisions should be clear to you. So therefore you have to study chapter 23, and there are some general provisions relating to trial that are provided under different provisions of chapter 24. So these becomes relevant, and also reference and revision also becomes relevant. However, reference and revision may be relevant in post-trial stage as well, but you can study it both as a part of provisions relating to applicable during the trial and post-trial, during the trial and post-trial. Now finally, you have प्रोविजंस अंडर सीआरपीसी रिलेटिंग टू पोस्ट ट्रायल। तो पोस्ट ट्रायल क्या होगा? अगर किसी व्यक्ति को डेथ सेंटेंस दिया है तो उसका कंफर्मेशन होगा, अगर सेशंस कोर्ट ने डेथ सेंटेंस दिया उसका कंफर्मेशन होगा। प्रोविजंस रिलेटिंग टू दैट आर प्रोवाइडेड अंडर चैप्टर 28। अपील के प्रोविजंस आर प्रोवाइडेड अंडर 29। आपकी ट्रायल कंक्लूड हो गई है, इफ ईदर ऑफ द पार्टीज अग्रीड बाय द जजमेंट ऑफ द trial court, then they can file an appeal. The provisions relating to that are provided under chapter 29. And there is also a provision relating to chapter relating to execution, suspension and commutation of sentences. That is also a chapter which falls within the third segment, that is provisions post trial, that is chapter 32, just before bail. Chapter 33 से पहले you have a provision relating to execution suspension. So it's easier to remember post trial provisions क्योंकि इसमें mainly तो provision है अपील का, which is chapter 29. और उसके अलावा you know this fact कि session judge can pronounce a sentence of death, but it has to be confirmed by the High Court. So that is why chapter 28 becomes relevant. वहां पे आपको पता चलेगा कि confirmation कैसे होगा और किसी भी sentence का execution कैसे होना है, या आपको sentence suspend करना है, remit करना है, commute करना है, then provisions relating to that are provided under chapter 32 of CRPC. Chapter 32 of CRPC. Now I'll stop here. You take a while to seep this information in and then try to visualize CRPC. I'll summarize it once again. CRPC may be divided into three main segments. Provisions which are relating to pre-trial proceedings, provisions which are relating to trial proceedings, provisions which are relating to post-trial proceedings. The first segment, which is provisions relating to pre-trial proceedings, may be divided into two parts. Pre-trial proceedings by the police, pre-trial proceeding by the magistrate. The relevant chapters under CRPC for the purpose of studying pre-trial proceeding by police are chapter 12, which provides for registration of FIR and investigation by police. Chapter 567, which provides for arrest, execution of warrant of arrest and summons, attachment of property, search and seizure. Chapter 4, 5, 6 and 12. Provisions these are the provisions which are applicable to pre-trial proceedings by the police. Now, pre-trial proceedings may also be conducted by the court. There, the relevant chapters are chapter 14, 15, 16, 17. It's so simple. Chapter 14 talks about cognizance. Chapter 15 talks about filing of criminal complaint, which is another way of starting a case other than FIR. Chapter 16 relating to issue of process, which is that every magistrate ka court or every criminal court, they are empowered to issue a summon or warrant. And then you have chapter 17, which deals with charge and joinder of charges. Bail is going to be there as a common chapter for all three stages, so you can leave it for a while. So that is all about pre-trial proceedings by police and by court. Then we will come down to provisions or chapters which are relevant for trial proceedings. Usme chapter 13 aata hai sabse pehle, which provides for how to decide the jurisdiction of criminal courts to conduct a trial or to conduct an inquiry. So we are more focused on trial, not about inquiry. And then under CRPC, there are four kinds of trial and provisions of which are provided under the code, which are sessions trial, warrant trial, summons trial, and summary trial. So they will start from chapter 18, 19, 20, and 21. Chapter 18, 19, 20, and 21 are relevant for that. Now, in order to conduct trial, आपको ये भी पता होना चाहिए कि एविडेंस लेने के क्या क्या मोड्स और मेथड्स हैं, क्या कमीशन इशू भी कर सकता है क्या, या कोर्ट में लेने जरूरी है एविडेंस. तो इन सबसे रिलेटेड प्रोविजन आर प्रोवाइडेड अंडर चैप्टर 23. Chapter 24 provides general provisions relating to trial, and after conducting a trial, you will pronounce a judgment. What would be the format of the judgment? What all things shall be contained in a judgment? They are provided under chapter 27. Chapter 27. Reference and revision also becomes relevant. That is provided under chapter 30, which is just after appeal. Chapter 29 is appeal. Reference and revision are provided under chapter 30. Now, post trial, the relevant provisions are appeal, chapter 29, confirmation of death sentence, submission and confirmation of death sentence pronounced by a session judge, chapter 28, and execution and remission suspension of sentence, chapter 23. chapter 23 of chapter 32 of CRPC, not 23, 32, just before bill. So this is in brief the short overview or shortest possible overview of three main segments of CRPC. I'll stop here. You can think about it, and then if you have any problem or query about these things, you can ask me. मेरे हिसाब से ये सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट लेक्चर है मेरा. मुझे लगता है कि इससे इम्पोर्टेंट लेक्चर कोई नहीं है, बट पता नहीं आप लोगों को कैसा लग रहा है, बिकॉज आई एम ट्राइंग टू make to you clear that how this code has been structured and which are the provisions or which kind of provisions are provided in the different chapters of CRPC. If you have any question, you can ask as we'll move on to the rest of the provisions. Now, इसके बाद सीआरपीसी में वैसे तो फोर्थ सेगमेंट भी मैं इस पे जोड़ सकता था, बट आई डिड नॉट डू दैट बिकॉज एज अ लॉ स्टूडेंट I do not treat the powers that are given to a magistrate to be of very high importance as far as administration of criminal justice system is concerned. But there are many people who treat these provisions to be very relevant, and these are those provisions because of which I said that district magistrate and other magistrates are lions and tigers in a sanctuary. So they will pick and choose their prey. They don't have to be bothered about कि उनको कौन क्या कहेगा. They are free to choose their prey. उनको जब मर्जी आएगी कुछ करने का they can do that. जब नहीं आएगी तो नहीं करेंगे कुछ, और अगर मर्जी आएगी तो सब कुछ करेंगे. ठीक है. So there are 3 chapters under CRPC which deals with powers of, mainly with the powers of executive magistrates. So जो executive side of magistracy है in a district headed by district magistrate and supported by ADMs and SDMs, उससे related chapters are chapter 8, 9, 10. 8, 9, 10. So if you want to be aware, or if you want to know that how much power a district magistrate holds when he functions as the head of the district magistracy, executive magistracy, तो आपको ये chapters पढ़ने चाहिए. chapter 8, 9, 10. ये आपके law school courses में नहीं होते हैं normally, but मुझे लगता है that every student must give a reading to these chapters. Chapter 8, 9, not 9, chapter 8 and 10, not 9. 9 is about maintenance. You must have studied it under family law. 9 you must have studied under. Have you studied 9 under family law? Section 125 of CRPC.
Yes, sir.
So this chapter is not about magistracy. I'm sorry, this chapter is not about magistracy. Chapter 8 and 10 are mainly about magistracy. So I'll delete it here. You can delete it from the notes also. So chapter 8 and 10 are about magistracy. So you from section 106 to section 148, generally the power of magistrate and under some provision power of police also to prevent offenses and to maintain law and order is provided. इसमें आपका 144 भी आता है जो कि आप इशू करते हो टू टेक केयर ऑफ टू मेंटेन लॉ एंड ऑर्डर इन योर डिस्ट्रिक्ट. इसमें आपका पब्लिक न्यूसेंस से रिलेटेड भी आता है, अनलॉफुल असेंबली से रिलेटेड भी आता है. इसमें आपका पब्लिक ऑर्डर एंड ट्रैंक्विलिटी को मेंटेन करने के लिए देयर आर सर्टेन पावर्स प्रोवाइडेड अंडर चैप्टर 10, वो भी आते हैं. एंड चैप्टर 8 भी आता है जिसमें यू कैन आस्क पीपल टू फिल अप ए बॉन्ड so that they do not commit any crime later on. So that is also an important chapter in it. So chapter 8 and 10 deals with powers of the executive magistrate. So you can write it somewhere. Okay, chapter 8 and 10 deals with power of the executive magistrate. और 8 कहाँ आता है? Just after 7. So it is a laughable thing, but jurisprudence में इसको बोलते हैं that what is the essential quality of number 7? Essential element of number 7 which makes it number 7, तो उसको बोलेंगे jurisprudential sense में कि number 7 8 से पहले आता है और 6 के बाद आता है. तो these are the essential qualities of नंबर 7, जैसे कि ऑस्टिन के हिसाब से लॉ का एसेंशियल क्वालिटी इज दैट लॉ इज द कमांड, नंबर 1 कमांड ऑफ द सॉवरन, नंबर 1 इज द कमांड, नंबर 2 बाय सॉवरन एंड बैक्ड बाय सैंक्शन. दीज आर द एसेंशियल क्वालिटीज ऑफ द लॉ. 8 के हिसाब से कुछ हो रहे हैं और कैल्सिन के हिसाब से कुछ हो रहे हैं. वैसे तो ये लाफेबल स्टेटमेंट लगता है, बट इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर अस टू decode our code. So chapter 5, 6, 7 were dealing with power of the police to in pre-trial proceedings. Now chapter 8 and 10 deals with the mainly powers of the magistrate to maintain law and order. Now 10 you have a chapter relating to preventive action by the police. जैसे magistrate ले सकता है preventive action under chapter 8 and 10 में, ऐसे पुलिस के पास भी पावर है टू टेक सर्टेन प्रिवेंटिव एक्शन अंडर सेक्शन 11, वो चैप्टर 11. और फिर चैप्टर 12 क्या आ जाएगा? FIR एंड इन्वेस्टिगेशन. सो द चैप्टर्स विच स्टार्ट्स फ्रॉम चैप्टर 8 और विच आर बिटवीन सर्च एंड सीजर वाला चैप्टर एंड FIR वाला चैप्टर आर बेसिकली रिलेटिंग टू प्रिवेंटिव पावर्स ऑफ मैजिस्ट्रेट एंड पुलिस. चैप्टर 8, 10 and 11. Chapter 8, 10 and 11. Then you have separate provisions under CRPC for the purpose of conducting the trial or dealing with an accused person who is of unsound mind. Chapter 15. Chapter 16 is a separate chapter relating to trial of those offenses which are affecting the administration of justice. तो ऐसे व्यक्ति के लिए जो disabled है, who is mentally unsound, who is of unsound mind, इनका ट्रायल कैसे कंडक्ट होगा, इसके लिए स्पेशल चैप्टर है. सो इट इज ए पेरिफेरल चैप्टर. इट विल नॉट बी यूज्ड इन एवरी केस. ये सिर्फ तभी यूज होगा जब एक्यूज्ड इज ऑफ अनसाउंड माइंड. और चैप्टर 16 जो है दैट शैल ओनली बी यूज्ड इफ द ऑफेंस इज अफेक्टिंग द एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन ऑफ जस्टिस. तो जुडिशरी ने क्रिमिनल जस्टिस एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन को स्मूथली फंक्शन कर सके, इसके लिए एक अलग से चैप्टर सीआरपीसी के अंडर दिया है कि अगर आप कोई ऐसा अपराध करते हो which is an offense against affecting administration of justice, then your pre-trial, during trial and post-trial proceeding shall be taken care of under section and under chapter 26. इसका मायना ये नहीं है कि उसमें FIR नहीं होगी, pre-trial proceeding के चैप्टर नहीं लगेंगे, cognizance नहीं होगा. इसका मायना ये है कि under the chapter additional provisions are provided to take care of such procedural steps which are coming into picture in those offenses which are affecting the administration of justice. तो अनसाउंड माइंड के एक्यूज्ड का कैसे ट्रायल होगा, प्री ट्रायल प्रोसीडिंग कैसे होगी और पोस्ट ट्रायल क्या होगा, इससे रिलेटेड यू हैव टू रीड चैप्टर 25 एंड फॉर ऑफेंसेस अफेक्टिंग एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन ऑफ जस्टिस यू हैव टू रीड चैप्टर 26. देन देयर इज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट चैप्टर 31. दिस आई हैव रिटन नोट इन रोमन, सॉरी फॉर दैट. सो under chapter 31 is placed in between reference and revision, and there is one more chapter relating to execution of sentence, remission of sentence. I guess that is 32. So it provides for transfer of cases. कि हाई कोर्ट को पावर है कि वो और सुप्रीम कोर्ट को कि वो केसेस का ट्रायल एक जगह से दूसरी जगह ट्रांसफर कर सकता है. ठीक है. Then chapter 35 talks about irregular proceedings. Chapter 36 talks about limitation for taking cognizance of certain offenses. इसका मायना ये है चैप्टर 36 का कि अगर कोई अपराध ऐसा है जिसकी सजा शायद फाइन है, तो उसमें 1 साल के बाद, कमीशन के बाद, यू कैन नॉट फाइल ए केस. देयर इज ए बार ऑन फाइलिंग द केस. नॉर्मली लिमिटेशन लॉ एप्लीकेबल टू सिविल केसेस, बट इन क्रिमिनल केसेस ऑल्सो इट इज एप्लीकेबल, बट इन ए वेरी लिमिटेड सेंस. और शायद उन्हीं अपराधों में लिमिटेशन लॉ लगता है क्रिमिनल केसेस में जिनकी सजा 6 महीने तक होती है, शायद या उससे ज्यादा. प्लीज लुक इनटू इट, बट देयर इज अ सेपरेट चैप्टर अबाउट इट, लिमिटेशन फॉर टेकिंग कॉग्निजेंस ऑफ सर्टेन ऑफेंसेस. और चैप्टर 35 इज टॉकिंग अबाउट कि अगर बिकॉज इट इज अ प्रोसीजरल लॉ एंड इफ देयर इज एनी इरेगुलरिटी इन प्रोसीडिंग्स, तो उससे रिलेटेड कॉन्सिक्वेंसेज क्या होंगे एंड व्हाट आर द रेमेडीज अवेलेबल टू द aggrieved party if there is any irregularity in his or her proceedings. So basically peripheral parts of CRPC includes preventive powers of executive magistrate, chapter 8 and 10, preventive power of the police, chapter 11, provisions applicable to the to a criminal case against accused person who is of unsound mind, chapter 25, 26, applicable to the pre-trial and trial proceedings for offenses against administration of justice. Transfer of criminal cases is taken care of under chapter 31. irregular proceedings are taken care of under chapter 35, and limitations for taking cognizance of offense, limitation law, whether it is applicable to criminal cases or not, that would be decided by reading the provisions of chapter 37, chapter 36, and chapter 37 is titled as miscellaneous. So I think I have covered almost all the chapters. एक दो कोई इधर उधर बचा हुआ होगा तो वो छोड़ने के लायक ही है, पढ़ने के लायक नहीं है बस, ठीक है जी. So that is all for today. For me, it is a very relevant lecture. Had I been a student, if somebody would have told me कि भाई जब मैं लॉ स्कूल में पढ़ रहा था कि भाई ये CRPC है and it is divided into 3 main segments: pre-trial, during trial, post-trial. These are the chapters which are relevant and which you should read to understand these 3 segments: pre-trial, during trial, and post-trial. And there are some peripheral provisions which provides for preventive powers of executive magistrate, police, how an accused person of unsound mind shall be dealt with, how trial of offences affecting criminal justice administration shall be conducted, how criminal cases are transferred from one court to another, and what are the grounds for doing so, and what is meant by regular proceedings, and what are the consequences if there is any illegality in the proceedings in a criminal case, and the law relating to limitation applicable to criminal cases. तो अगर कोई मुझे ये सारी बातें बताता, I would have been better prepared to dive into CRPC. So that's all from my side. If you want to ask something, you can ask. Please mark these chapters. Take a printout of this document. It's there on your Google Classroom, and then take your code and mark these chapters. ये chapter जो है ये प्री ट्रायल के लिए हैं, ये ट्रायल के लिए हैं, ये पोस्ट ट्रायल के लिए हैं, ये एग्जीक्यूटिव मैजिस्ट्रेट की पावर के हैं, ये पुलिस की प्रिवेंटिव पावर के हैं, ये एक्यूज्ड पर्सन की ट्रायल के लिए, वो अनसाउंड पर्सन की ट्रायल के लिए है, ये ऑफेंसेस अगेंस्ट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन ऑफ जस्टिस के लिए, ये ट्रांसफर ऑफ क्रिमिनल केसेस के लिए, ये रेगुलर प्रोसीडिंग के लिए, कॉग्निजेंस के लिए. That's it. Yeah, Siddharth, it's similar to that. Offenses affecting criminal justice administration. It's similar to that. That when you are threatening a member of, when you are not letting the court function, या फिर परजरी कर दिया आपने, झूठ बोल दिया ट्रायल के दौरान, इस तरीके की चीजें. सुहासिनी, मानसी, साहिल.